And welcome back to another exciting macro day right here on Scriptcase by Jamie. And today we are diving into the SC app menu add item macro. And you guessed it, it is another one of those dynamic menu macros that we can use to dynamically generate our menus. So let's dive in. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Scriptcase by Jamie, and today is macro day, and today we have a very powerful macro that allows you to dynamically add items to a menu within your Scriptcase applications. And we have been covering this macro over the last couple of weeks, and I believe this is macro number 4. It's particularly useful for creating complex user-driven navigation structures, which you can apply within your Scriptcase projects. So let's explore how you can use this macro to enhance the functionality as well as the navigational flow of your applications. So the purpose of SC app menu add item. Let's get it in here, shall we? So SC underscore app menu underscore item. And that is then our macro. And this allows us to dynamically add items within the menu array that we have created within a menu application, and that is by using one of the previous macros. It is ideal for applications that require a customized menu structure that can adapt maybe to user actions, permissions, or maybe any other operational condition that you can pretty much think of, because that is the power of Scriptcase, right? Okay, so how to use this lovely macro. And before you use it, you do need to add the first menu array and actually generate or create the menu first. You may remember this macro from the previous week. So that is SC underscore app menu underscore create. Okay, and just like that, we initialize our menu, our dynamic menu, and with that, we can start creating our array, which is pretty much what our items are then added to, as I had just explained. Now, with our app menu item, we do have quite a few parameters, and these are quite important. So we have, first of all, here, the menu name. So that would be then the name that we have here displayed for our menu application. So we will come to that. We then need to comma, and then we have our ID item. Okay, so you have your ID item there, and then that is then the ID that is then applied to then the menu item. So in your first item menu, maybe item 1, item 2, item 3. And then with that, using other macros, you can hide those items, or should I say menu options as well during other processes, which is really powerful. Okay, so we have then here our item, and then we need to add the parent ID, if there is one, right? So that depends. If this is a child menu item, then we will want to have our parent ID displayed there. In case of ID number 2, it could be then for the parent ID 1. Okay, so then we have comma here, and then here we need to apply then our label, and that is then the label of our menu item. We then specify then our application, and then we can define our parameters. Okay, and after our parameters, we can add an icon to this. Now, of course, with our new menu structure, that may have changed in some shape or form. So that is something worth checking out. Now, after the icon, you can add then also the hint for this menu item, as well as then defining the target as the last parameter. So these options are then all available for you so that you can dynamically generate or create the menu that you so desire or require really for your business processes, of course, because that is why you will be using Scriptcase. Okay, so let's have a look at this macro, shall we, in full force, because I know that is what you have all been waiting for. Because, yeah, macro day is here to check out the macro. But in today's macro, there are multiple macros that are all involved. So we will check 2 of these. The previous macro you should remember. Now we will come here to our menu. Now once you've created your menu application, and you'll see here the type of menu that I have. So this is the new menu that I have created. You can also use the old menu as well as the tree menu. So these macros work in all of the menus available within Scriptcase. You don't have to use the latest and greatest like I am right now. And then we come here to on application init. Now in here, I would then add the macro. So that is then sc app menu underscore create, and with our brackets, of course. Now here we need to then define our menu name, and we have menu underscore 914. Now that is very important. So that is then what creates our menu array in which we can now place our menu items. So here I can then go sc app menu underscore add underscore item, and we can then start to define our menu here. So here we will want the same menu name. So I can just copy that and place that in there. And then with that, we have then our item name, or item number, should I say, and that is item underscore 1, because it is our first item name. And then with that, we can add comma here. We have no parent. This is not a child, should I say. And then with that, there is no parent there. Then we need to have here the name of this. So I will add dashboard for this menu item. And then with that, we then also need to define the application. So here I say app underscore dashboard. And then we can comma that again, because we've just defined our application. Now, if we have any parameters, we can define those as well, such as maybe passing globals or variables from application to application, whatever that may be. I can define those here. We also have an option for an icon. I will leave that out. And then our hint, we can say here, dashboard here, and we can make sure I spelled dashboard correctly, and maybe add open dashboard, because of course it is a hint after all. So there we have then our hint for that. And then we actually want to open that underscore self. And with that, that will then go ahead and create. And of course I have an error there. So correct that first, make sure you have the correct hyphens and so forth. So I'll increase that a little bit, and you can see that a little better. Now you can see I have then defined our menu name, which is our menu name here, as well as then the item underscore 1. I have left then the child indicator, which would then be item number 2 or 5 or 10 or whatever it is. Or in that case, it would maybe be item 1. And then here we would then have item 3, for instance. So item 3, and then here the parent would then be item 1. So that's very important. That is then the original parent, and then the child, and then the title for our menu application, the application name to which we are sending it to, the parameters that we have defined for the application, as well as the icon. And then here we have our hint and then our target. Now, if I go ahead and save that and run, we will then see our menu item. Now we have then our menu. So let me zoom out, and we can see we have then the dashboard, and that is of course not found right now. And that would then provide us with our dashboard application. And that is then pretty powerful, so we can dynamically generate our applications. Now, an alternative for this would maybe be, so if we say maybe if, and I'll add some brackets in here and split this up, and then here we want an else. Here we want an else, and then our curly brackets again, and then here we can maybe define alternative menu options depending on the role, say, and those then can be applied. So here we would then change these to item 2, say item 3, and dashboard, and there we could say admin, and there we can say settings maybe, or whatever it is, and then adjust the application names as well as the hints for these applications. And then in here, for instance, we can add maybe session, and then with our session we can then add our session values in here. So if I say here user underscore role, and that would then be our global, and that would then equal here our, say, admin. And then with that, if the user session equals user role admin, then they will have the extra menu items available. Otherwise, if I now run this now, it will just give me here the dashboard still, because I am not logged in as admin. So just like that, we have then a customized, completely dynamic user menu based on user roles. And as you can see, there is a great deal of practical use for this macro, or macros should I say, specifically when it comes to navigations, when you want to maybe adapt your menu to complex dynamic conditions, maybe such as user roles, permissions, or maybe specific operational states, ensuring that you provide your users with a not only personalized user experience, but also with the data that they require when they require it. And well, that is of course a wrap on today's guide to the SC App Menu Add Item macro. There are one or two still coming up, but they're not as important as these ones. And with this, you can get started and create those dynamic menus. So I hope you enjoyed this little tutorial. Don't forget to hit that like button if you did like it, subscribe, and of course, comment below if you have used these dynamic menus before, if you're having problems with them, if you need some help even. Share your stories and stay tuned for more Scriptcase tips and tricks right here on Scriptcase by Jamie every Friday, macro day. Be here or be square.